Okay. Okay, so as we all know, Shavuos is upon us, which will be next Saturday night, next Motzei Shabbos, and Sunday, and for those in America, and for myself, because I'm an American. No, I'm a Jew, but I lived in America, so Monday as well. Now, the custom is on the second day in America, and obviously on the only day in Israel, we read from the book of Ruth. Now, who was Ruth? So the truth is, Ruth, my father used to have a factory in New York, and he had a worker named Ruth. So my father's worker was Ruth, so that's who Ruth was. But it's not the Ruth I'm actually referring to. The Ruth I'm referring to is a woman in history, at one of the darkest times in Jewish history, came out, and she did something which enabled the coming of the Messiah, of King David, who was the Messiah. So, let's begin with the beginning of the story. And it was the days when the judges were judging. There was a famine amongst the land. There was a person that went from Beis Lechem to live in the fields of Moab. Him, his wife, and his 2 sons. So, and Rashi tells us this Ish, which is the pasuk next thing, is Shema Ish Eli Melech. Who was Elimelech? Says Rashi, he was one of the richest people of the generation, and he was a Mefarnes Hadar. He sustained the generation, and he left Litzaras Ha'ayin. He left because it was too difficult. So first of all, we have to see where this is happening, at what point of history. So the first book of Nevi'im, of the prophets, is Joshua. And Joshua's the leader, and everything is pretty much swell. They conquer Israel. They're making a Jewish state. I don't want to get controversial over here. And then Joshua dies. And the Jewish people are in decline. And the next book is called Shoftim, which is Judges. And it is one of the worst times in Jewish history. There are civil wars going on. There's a story of Pelegish Begiva that happens in the end of Shoftim. One of the worst times in history. Everything was corrupt, and it keeps repeating the same 3 words over the course of the book of Judges. Ein Melech B'Yisrael. There is no king of the Jewish people. So, which we know right after that starts the book of Shmuel, which starts the beginning of the kingship within the Jewish people. So at this point, towards the end of the book of Shoftim, the pasuk starts off, Vayihi b'mei shvot haShoftim. It's starting off by the days of the Shoftim. It's really hot in here, so please forgive me if I take off my jacket. Okay, that's better. It was days of the Shoftim, and there was a Rav Ba'aretz, and there was a famine. So things are not going well. And not only things are not going well, there's on top of that a famine. So who is this person? What's the Rav? And why is he going to stay in Moab? What's over there? To understand this, I want to look at a little peculiar place to look to understand these psukim. I want to go back into the beginning. Bereshis, Baralakim. That is funny and amusing, but everything ultimately comes back to Sefer Bereshis in the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha. Abraham, Avram Avinu, Avram our father. We know a little bit about his history. 3 years old, trying to figure out God, smashes all the idols, throws into a furnace of fire. Torah doesn't tell us anything about that. First thing Torah tells us about Abraham is Lech Lecha. You're on a journey. You're going to do something. And he says, I'm going to make you great. And I'm going to make you grand. I'm going to make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Okay. And he sends him off to this land called Eretz. Well, he's showing him where to go, but to go to the land of Canaan. And it says, Vayikach Avram, and Avram took with him Sarai Ishta, we're in Parak Beis Pasuk Hey, Sarai Ishta, his wife, Sarai, his wife, Vesloi ben Achiv, and his nephew Lot, Veskol Rechush Masher Rechashu, and all their wealth and all their items and the possessions, Ve'esa Nevesh Asu B'Charan, and everybody else who Abraham brought closer to God in Haran. And they come to the land of Canaan. Okay. Then Avram he decides to set up camp in Elul Moreh. We'll see, maybe later, Elul Moreh comes with the story of the Bris Milah. And he realized And then, so it comes up, Vayihi Rav Ba'aretz. Only was the first time that there was a famine amongst the earth that the Torah tells us is right after Abraham comes to Eretz Canaan, to the land which is now Israel. Vayihi Rav Ba'aretz. There was a famine amongst the land. So you see there's some sort of connection going on up here. So where does Avram go? I read Avram Mitzrayim. Avram goes down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. Lagor Sham, to live there. Because the Rav was very, very difficult. And then there goes a story with Avram asking Sarai, say you're my sister, I don't want to get killed. Okay. And something happens between the relationship in Avram and Lot, which we have to see, because when they leave Mitzrayim, Vayal Avram, when Avram gets out and goes up out of Mitzrayim back to Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Canaan at the time, Hu v'ishtai, him and his wife, Sarai, v'chol asher lai, and everyone that was with him, v'lot ima negba, and Lot was with him in the south. Something happened there, because Lot, got demoted a little bit. Lot is only at the bottom now. At the beginning it was Avram, Sarah, Lot, their possessions, and everyone else. And now it's Avram, Sarah, everyone else, and Lot. And so you see something happened over there. We'll maybe try to understand what. And what happens next? They continue, they walk through. Now, if everybody is good with geography, I'm not that amazing, but I know my way around the map. Anyway, they come out from Egypt, they're walking through, and they come to the middle of Israel, middle of Eretz Yisrael. When you're walking from Egypt, to Israel, you're facing the Jordan River. You're basically going on Kli Shachor. They are on Kli Shachor, that area, and they're looking, because they're coming from Mitzrayim, they're going that way, and they're looking at the Jordan River, at Jordan, modern day Jordan, and there's a quarrel amongst their shepherds. There's a quarrel amongst Avram shepherds and Lot shepherds. And Avram says to Lot, there's this quarrel to me and you, and between my shepherds and your shepherds. Also very peculiar. We should be together. We should be all together. So let's split up. If you want to go to the left, which if you're facing Jordan, the left is the north of Israel, the better land. I'll take the south. I'll take the right, which is the deserts of Midbar Yehuda, if anybody's been down there. And if you want to go to the right, down to the deserts, I'll take the upper land, whatever you want. And what does Lot respond to? And Lot, he's facing this way, he's facing Jordan. Well, actually, you can't see where we are, but we're actually, Jordan's that way. So he's facing this way. And he's facing Jordan. Vayisa Einav. Vayisa Lot is Einav. Lot picks up his eyes. I mean, literally picks up his eyes. He starts paying attention. Vayar, it's called Kikar Yarden. He looks at all the lands around the Yarden, the Jordan River. Kikula Mashke, it's very fruitful and plentiful. Shachas Hashem Sodom Amora, and the beer of Sodom and Amora, which we'll see in a minute what Sodom and Amora were. We know the story, but we're going to have to touch on that. Kigan Hashem Ke'eretz Mitzrayim. Like the garden of God, like Mitzrayim. So this is something that Avram and Lot argued about. What did they argue about exactly? Lot says, I want to stay in Mitzrayim. Avram says, no, we got to get out of here. I hope we'll never have to come back. But it happens. Let's get out of here. So Lot says, fine, uncle, I'll do whatever you say. Let's go. Ayo. And they walk back. And Lot really wants to go back to Mitzrayim. And he says, Avram's offering north of Israel, south of Israel. He goes, no. That land is pretty good. It looks just like Egypt. So now, what is Egypt? And what is Israel? So, for the majority of Israel's history, Israel has not had much rain. The past 5 years, there was a crazy drought. The Kinneret, you can see the Galilee, went down and down and down till when the black line, I think it is. And so what does Israel do? Israeli intelligence. They go down, they draw another line, and they keep pumping lower and lower and lower until they hit the red line. And what do? The country's running out of water. So they keep going until a point where it's going beneath the pumps. They couldn't even pump water anymore. Baruch Hashem, this year, Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael had so much amazing rain. I got caught in a few rainstorms, so it cost me a little bit of dry cleaning. But Eretz Yisrael had so much rain, and the Kinneret went up a little bit. But Eretz Yisrael, we need rain. The country needs rain, and that was one of the causes for the 6-day war, actually a preemptive strike in 1964-65, where Jordan came up with a plan to cut off the pumping into the Kinneret, to cut off Israel's water supply, so Israel will literally die of thirst. And there was a spy named Kamel Amin Sabeth. I think that was his name. Also known as Eli Cohen. And Eli Cohen transmitted from his apartment in Damascus, across the street from Syrian intelligence headquarters, Syrian military headquarters, with a Morse code transmitter, warned Israel about the plan. Israel went in and bombed certain areas that they were going to use to build up dams to block the water. And sadly, he was caught not much later after that, after giving all the Syrian installations in the Golan, all those well-hidden installations, anti-aircraft batteries, and hidden guns and all that. And he was sadly caught and he was sadly hung. He died for the sake of our people. And in the 6-Day War in 1967, it was actually a very big plus because they had all things. So the Air Force was able to go in and literally knock out all their secret bases and all their secret installments, which we have to thank for Eli Cohen for that and his bravery. Getting back. So Eretz Yisrael, when we need water, when we need something, where do we look? We look to Hashem. I actually sang that in a choir when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, New York Boys Choir. The good old days. Okay, so in Eretz Yisrael, we look up, we look up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You will take care of us. We want to rely on you. That's the best possible relationship we could have, like we discuss here at HaTorah all the time. The best possible relationship you could have is relying on God. Where do you look in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, which is also from the Hebrew word Meitzarim, being a captive? You look down, the Nile is, everything's here. I don't need to look to God for anything. I got everything I need. I'm good. Lo, got intrigued with that. I have to go to Israel now and look up to God. I got everything. And he gets into a quarrel. And Avram says, no, we got to go. So that's why he gets demoted down the list. And Avram says, come on, this is your last chance. Which land of Israel do you want? And he goes, no, I want to go back to Mitzrayim, but you don't let me. So I'm going to go to Jordan. I'm going to go where it's Ki Gan Hashem Ki Eretz Mitzrayim. I'm going to go like that. Okay. Now, what was Sodom? He goes to the land of Sodom. Sodom was known for something called selfishness. If any of my siblings know, I'm kidding. Sodom was known for selfishness. Akidei Kach, up until the point that the Medrash says that if you invited someone over to stay, if you tried to do Achnas Arachim, inviting in guests, you got punished. Their entire society was built on selfishness. If somebody went to a hotel, if it was a shorter fellow, they would stretch him on a longer bed. And if he was a tall fellow, they put him on a short bed and cut off his legs. They were the epitome. And 3 angels appeared to Avram and say, one of them says, I'm going to save Lot. And he goes into Lot's house, and people hear about it, and all the people from Sodom are surrounding Lot's house, trying to get him to give up their people and try to punish Lot. But Lot was intrigued by the selfishness. I don't have to rely on anybody else. I want it for me. Sounds like some people I know. No, I'm kidding. Okay. So, that's what he wants. And Hashem says, gotta destroy Sodom, Abraham. I gotta destroy Sodom. And Abraham starts pleading. And eventually, Hashem says, there's no righteous people, I'm going to destroy Sodom. And what happens? Lot gets out in the nick of time. Hashem redeems him. We'll see that comes up. He gets out in the nick of time. And him and his 2 daughters said, oh no, we're the only people left on earth. Who's going to carry on the legacy? So, we all know the story. He has relations with his 2 daughters, and they have 2 sons, Ammon and Moab. Now, let's go a little ahead in the Torah to Devarim. The pasuk tells us, where are we holding? Give me 1 second, I'm sorry. I forgot to put bookmarks. I'm in Bamidbar. I am in Devarim, Parshas Devarim. Hold on. Pasuk in Paragraph Gimel, Pasuk Dalid. Torah tells us, those descendants from those two children, Ammon and Moab, L'yavo Ammoni u'Moavi b'kal Hashem. Gam Dora Asiri l'yavo lehem b'kal Hashem ad olam. No one can marry in from the nations of Ammon and Moab in the covenant of God, even to the 10th generation. 10th generation means to the nth generation. Why, says the Torah? For the fact that they didn't greet you with bread and water when you left Egypt. Nobody did. Why Ammon and Moab? So the idea is, no one did because no one did. Ammon and Moab could have, they were the easiest access. But they didn't do it because they were selfish. Not because they had no interest, they were lazy or bored, because they had this deep intriguing to be selfish. That's why that's why they can't go into us. They can't marry into us. So now, there is a terrible rough, there's terrible hunger, and we go back to Elimelech, and he's a leader, and he's selfish. He's in the house, Beis Lechem, the house of bread. And he says, I'm going out to Moab. I'm going out to where people can be selfish. And he takes his wife and his two sons. His two sons, the Pasuk tells us, Shem Shnei Banav, Machlon v'Chilion Ephrasim. And their names are Machlon v'Chilion. And he gets to stay Moab, and he dies. He croaks kaput. That was a Melch Ishnami, Sherehi Shnei Banah. And then she was left with just her two sons and herself. And then, who are these boys going to marry? The Shidduch crisis. We got to get these boys married off, but there's no Jews around. Let's take two Moabite women. So, takes two Moabite, she marries them off to two women, Moabite, Shem Achas Arpa. The first one's name was Arpa, Shem Hashenis Rus, and the second one's name was Rus. And they lived there together. Hold on. About 10 years, the Pasuk says. And those two sons also died. So now, there was a father, Elimelech, a wife, Nami, two sons, Machlon and Chilion. Build out your family tree. Machlon and Chilion married two Moabite women. All the men die. Nami's left with these two Moabite daughter-in-laws. And they get up to return from off because they heard that that they heard that the famine is over and Hashem is giving them bread. And so they go together and they go back to. They're about to embark on the journey back to Eretz Yehuda, back to Israel. And Nami says to her two new daughter-in-laws, guys, girls, go back. What are you doing this for? What do you have in need for this? We have so many rules. We have so many laws. Sometimes we don't even know the reason, just because. But what are you doing for? And not only that, the Medrash says that Ruth was a Moabite princess. She had everything. So what are you doing? I'm poverty. My husband was rich. He's dead. Your two husbands are dead. What's the point? Go back and Hashem should do with you chesed and Hashem should take care of you. And she kissed them all and then they cried and they said, no, we don't want to leave you. And Nami says again, return my daughters. What, you want to wait for me to bear another son, another 20 years so you can marry another son and he'll die also? Like, what are you doing it for? And he keeps repeating this word, return. Okay? So, Arpa says, you're right. She kisses her mother-in-law, Nami, and she goes back on her way. Rus connects herself to her. We know that the Hebrew word for glue is devek, to be connected. Devekus b'Hashem is connection to Hashem. She says, no, Rus, go away. And Ruth says, Ruth, Al tivgi bi l'azvech. Please don't send me away from you. For you go, I will go. And wherever you stay over, I'll stay over. Amech ami. Your nation is my nation. And your God is my God. Amen. Let's go, sign me up. I don't care what you say. Don't push me away. I want to be part of the Jewish people. We have a few people in history that have said such words. Complete people, converts who came in because they realized that there's something there with us. And I am at Aish HaTorah. I grew up FFB from Brooklyn. And one of the things I get really inspired here every single day is I see guys who came in from backgrounds who were not religious, who had the party of their life, the time of their life, so-called, emptiness party. I don't wish I could do a lot of that stuff. But I get inspired at the fact that they gave up everything for the truth. How many people are willing to do that? Get off on a tangent for a second. On Shavuos, we read the book of Ruth. One of the reasons is because King David died on Shavuos, and this is his great-grandmother. There's a story that happened on Shavuos. There was a fellow, the Count of Patutsk, I believe it was, who was terrible to the Jews. And he would hire Jews to come entertain the crowds, and he would taunt them and throw things. And the Jews were so impoverished that they would go and volunteer to work, be entertainment for this count. And one time, a Jew desperately the money, and on Friday morning, this count is making a huge party, and this Jew says, I need the money, hopefully I'll get out of here early. And they're beating him, and they're laughing, and they're drinking, and he's kind of drunk, whatever. And the guy realizes, uh-oh, I'm Jewish. Shkia! From Flatbush, Shkia! And if you're from Zek, Shkia. Okay, so he says, please, can I go? And he says, what kind of request? The guy's drunk, the count. He says, you filthy Jew, how dare you ask such a request? And he says, absolutely not. And they keep tormenting him, and it comes within minutes before Shkia. He finally gets out of there. He's badly beaten, bruised. He runs to his shack. Now, this count had a son named Valentin. And Valentin, he was a morally correct person. He had values, and he realized that it's not doing it right. So he quickly ran out as well. He gets whatever Band-Aids he could off. He had Band-Aids, bandages, medicine, whatever he could bring. And he rushes over to this Jew's house, half hour later, and he looks in the window and he finds the Jew. He expected to find him there, all zerbrochen, as they say, all broken, all depressed, all hurt, aching, whatever. And he sees him sitting there and making Kiddush on Shabbos. And he was inspired. He says, wow, somebody could go through that and still be so true, there must be something to this. And he starts looking into it. And he becomes a convert. His name was Avram ben Avram. It's a famous story. And he runs away, and he becomes a Jew. And finally, years later, he's captured by the count's soldiers. And they try to get him to convert back. And he goes, what are you bothering me for? My name is Avram. My name is not Valentin. And they try tempting him. They show him all the estates that he'll get, what he'll be in control of. He says, I don't want this. This is Olam Hazeh. This is this world. It's temporary. I want to have the world to come. I don't want any of this. And they sentenced him to die on the second day of Shavuos. And on the way, every Jew was afraid that day that the non-Jews are going to take revenge on them for stealing their the heir to the count throne, whatever it is. And every Jew closed their windows and doors and locked it and everything. Except for one, the Vilna Gaon. And the Vilna Gaon, as they're dragging him through the streets, he says, Rav Avram, go with Simcha. Go ahead. Malachim are waiting for you. Because you were smart enough or intrigued enough to discover the emes. And sadly, he was burned at the stake. He made the bracha al Kiddush Hashem, which I believe they say the Yesod Shar Shavoda wrote a sefer at the time, risked his life and hid in the bushes on the side to be able to answer a maid to the bracha of al Kiddush Hashem. They say a joke of a risky guy who an Arab is trying to kill him. And he says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, al Kiddush Hashem. And the Arab goes, oh no, he just got a spirit on me. He runs out of here. He goes, no, bracha levatala. So there are people who come in, and the guys at Aish come in, and they want to be inspired. And Project Inspire. They work with from people, trying to get them inspired by trying to be makar, people who are, to bring closer, people who are not as religious. And that gives your own inspiration, because do we always tap into that we have the truth? That's interesting. This is so off topic, but I really want to get back, but I want to say this one point. There was a guy who heard about me from a friend of his that I'm at Aish, I deal with certain subjects, certain topics. Sheepish guy from, I'm not going to say where, but it rhymes with, no kidding. And he comes in and starts telling me why he's doing Kirvis Aser, and he comes with all these Chakiris, this and that, and I should stop a second. Why are you a frum Jew? And he starts chuckling, and he starts going, "Krochting," and he says, "Because my father was a frum Jew, and my grandmother was a frum Jew, my great-grandmother was a frum Jew." And I said, "So you're telling me if your father was a religious Christian, and your grandfather was a religious Christian, Mom was the Messiah, you'd be a religious Christian?" And with that blinking an eye, he goes, "Of course." I said, "So you don't believe the Torah is true?" He said, "What do you mean? I learned Torah. What do you mean? I got?" I said, "If you believe the Torah is true, and that's the 100% truth of the world, an absolute truism, how in the world could you say that you would be a religious Christian?" I don't know what happened, but his friend told me the next morning he didn't show up to Seder. But we need inspiration also. And sometimes when a convert comes in, or a guy becomes from, it gives us an inspiration. Amich ami v'lekayach alekai. Your nation is my nation, your God is my God. I see in you the truth. You should see it in yourself. And that's really what Ruth is telling Nami over here. You're bitter. You're bad at everything. Amich ami, I want to show you the truth. And they go. And he says, "V'asher temusi amas, and this I'll die for it." Sadly, the Jews had to say that too many times that they're willing to die, and have died over the past 2,000 years of this long, bitter exile, which comes soon to an end. Amen. "And I'll be buried along with you. Nothing, even death will not part us." That's what she says. And Nami sees that she's really true, and she's getting inspired herself. She goes, "Okay, pack up, let's go." And they're going on this long and winding road. And they get to Beis Lechem. And everybody in the city is looking at her and says, "Is this Nami? Is this Nami?" And she says, "Don't call me Nami. Call me Mara, because Hashem bitter. Because Hashem made my life very, very bitter. And I'm empty, and I have no money, and I have everything." And Nami and Ruth, they live together in the fields of, they live together so in the fields of Moab. They dwell in Beis Lechem, the beginning of the harvest of the barley. Now, there's another fellow that is introduced in the beginning of Parak Beis. His name is Boaz. Says Rashi, Boaz was the nephew of Elimelech. Elimelech had a brother had two sons, Ploni, Almoni, and Boaz. It's interesting because the Megillah Shavuos actually says that Boaz was Elimelech's brother. Rashi comes along and says, which means brother, means the connection with the family. And his name is Boaz. And Ruth says to Nami, "Let me go out to the field and I'll get involved and I'll see what's going on, whatever." And she says, "Go." And they're starving. And they go, I'm just going to sum it up a little bit because we're getting a little late. She goes and she's helping out and she's in the field, and Boaz sees her and sees her modesty, sees her midos, and says to all the other servants, whatever, don't bother her, let her work, let her come, we'll invite her in, and invites her in for a huge, lavish meal. And the pasuk says that she had so much she even left over. Why does the pasuk tell us that she even left over? Because after that, she brings her leftovers to her starving mother-in-law. Her leftovers. Now, there's two things over here. First of all, it's the last time that ever happened, that a mother-in-law mooched off a daughter-in-law. And the second thing happens, we learn the concept of leftovers. I don't know about anybody here, but me growing up, Sunday night was leftover night at my house. Now, if we had guests over for Shabbos, it were really good leftovers. If we did not have guests over for Shabbos, oh no, my mother's going to see this. Also amazing leftovers. Except actually, when I was in New York for Pesach, my mother made this unbelievable yapchik. I'm telling you, you could call her. I'll give you, contact me privately. I'll give you her number. But you could call her. This most unbelievable yapchik. I'm telling you, I sat down in Matzi Yom Tov. I sat down at the ganze Zach from yapchik. The next day also leftovers. You see, it's chashiv. And Nami kissed her and thanks her so much. And Boaz sees all this that's going on. So after this all goes on, maybe a second. And Nami gives her this idea. Nami gives her an idea and says, "Listen, after by the next party, Boaz is going to get a little tipsy. Go where he goes to sleep. Sleep at his feet, and just sleep there. And that's exactly what Russ does. And he wakes up in the middle of the night. What are you doing here? Who are you? And basically they have a little conversation over here. I'm sorry. Nami gives instructions. Lie down over there. Bathe yourself. Get clean. Whatever. And Russ says to Nami, "Okay, I'll do whatever you say to do." And she went down, and Boaz ate and drank, and he lies down, and she lies down next to him. And in the middle of the night, he wakes up, and he sees this woman, Ruth, lying at Boaz. He sees Ruth lying at the feet, and he says, "Who are you?" Spread your robe over my handmaid, for you are a redeemer. You are a goel. That's lashon. Ki goel ata. You are a redeemer. Now, what's a goel? Before we get to goel, we have to understand at this point in the story, Naomi and Ruth are in poverty. Ruth is now getting in working for Boaz. She's starting to get a little bit of a feel, and she's helping her mother-in-law as much as she could. But they need a goel. Well, we have a goel adam. Goel adam is someone who takes responsibility, steps up to the plate to avenge the death of a relative. Goel is a redeemer, somebody who steps to take responsibility. We say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, you are a redeemer. You take responsibility. You come in the nick of time, and you take care of us. Okay, so he says, you're a goel. And he blesses her, and he says, I respect you a lot, that you're coming after me. You're not coming after the young guys, whether they be old, whether they be rich, whether they be poor. You're coming after me. And I see you're a real, true person. I am a redeemer. You're right. But there's also another redeemer, my older brother, Ploni Almoni. And he says, let me see if Ploni Almoni is interested. And if he's not, I'll take care of you. And she comes in, and he gives her this 6 measures of barley to show that he was going to help them out. So the story continues. Boaz approaches his brother Ploni Almoni and says, "Listen, we got a good business deal. Right now, there's a mitzvah called Yibam. We have to reestablish our brother, what it means really our uncle's name, Elimelech, in the people of Israel." And all his lands we need to buy back for these people. We need to redeem them. We need to be responsible for these people. Yes, a lot of people were very upset at them for leaving, the family of Elimelech, for leaving during the hunger, the leader leaving the hunger. But we have a chance to be now responsible people. Who wants to be responsible? Come on. Responsible people, and we can redeem them. And Ploni says, nah, I'm good. So, Boaz goes in and he buys the fields, and within the kinyan, he also marries Ruth. He takes off his na'al, his shoe, which the Megillah tells us was a form of a transaction. People say it was also doing yibum. Yibum is when you have to marry, when a brother dies without kids, you remarry to re-establish the name. Marries Ruth. Ruth and they have relations that night. It says in the Medrash that he died the next morning, but they have relations that night. And Ruth goes ahead and has a kid and names him Oved, who Avi Yishai, Avi David, who's the father of Yishai, who's the father of King David. And then the Megillah adds on 5 more psukim. Ve'ela told us parrots. And these are the children of parrots. Parrots Chetzron. Chetzron holed us Ram, Ram holed us Aminadav. Aminadav holed us Nachshon, and Nachshon holed us Shalma. Shalma holed us Boaz, who's the parrot, right? Boaz holed us Oved. Oved holed us Yishai. Yishai holed us David. So I just want to point out a quick question. Well, how are we going back to parrots, who was the great grandfather? And if we're to go back to Yehuda, where it starts from. And then you say it again that I know Oved is the son of Boaz, and he's the father of Yishai, the father of David. Okay, so why do I need these last 5 psukim? So why do we start with parrots? Parrots is the word of poretz, knocking down barriers, knocking through walls. Melech poretz gather. It's interesting in Flatbush. It goes by letters and numbers. And there's one avenue that goes like this. Straight through, doesn't care about the organization, doesn't care about anything, just goes through. And it's called King's Highway. Melech poretz gather. A king tears down barriers. So, I guess that's why. So, we go ahead over here, and it tells us that Ruth was someone who broke down barriers. What attracted Boaz there? Because she did chesed. She did kindness. People are attracted by kindness. Rav Gav Freeman got it up this past year by the Project Inspire convention. And he said a story. And he said there was a guy on a train, I think it was a Hispanic man, and he's on a train, and a little 16-year-old, I'm not going to say what color person, but use your imagination, comes up with a knife and says, "Money or your life?" So the guy says, "Okay, money, here's my wallet." Gives the guy a wallet, and the little mugger starts walking away. And he says, "Hold on a second, you're going around mugging people all night, It's going to get cold. Would you like my coat? And he gives the guy his coat. And he goes, okay, coat of your life. He goes, okay. Gives him the coat. And he goes, but the fact that you're probably running around, you're probably hungry, right? Yeah. He goes, I'm going to offer this up. Why don't you come for a meal? On me. And they go to this meal, and everybody's coming over to this Hispanic man, saying, hi, how are you? And this kid is bewildered. He's saying, what's going on over here? He goes, well, you never saw this before? This was called kindness. He never experienced kindness before, and he goes, let us pay for this meal, but you have my wallet, so let's pay for the meal. Give me back the wallet. So Rav God says, the Musar is, if somebody tries to mug you on the train, invite them over for Shabbos. No, but the truth is, people are attracted by kindness. And Ruth does kindness. Now, where was Ruth from? Moab. Moab was the anti-kindness. It was the selfish, the practice of the religion, so to speak, was selfishness. And Ruth has to come and be kind. And she is there to fix a mistake. What was the mistake? That there was a Moab created by Lot, who continued the dynasty of selfishness, and therefore a Moabi is not allowed to get involved. But somebody needs to fix that mistake, so to speak, that if Lot wouldn't have separated from Abraham, God to Sodom, and caused them to have Bezeb, the connection of the Messiah, the Mashiach, could have been right there. But Lot goes over there, creates Moab, and eventually Moab will have to fix his mistake. How do they fix his mistake? Through Ruth. Now, where else Yehuda is... He has two sons also who die. A third son doesn't want to marry. But Tamar needs to marry someone from the family. Yehuda goes ahead, and there's a whole story there. I don't get into it, but it's a form of adultery. And through there, they two meet. And not only that, King David, people will assume that he was a bastard. He was a mamzer. That he was born out of... I'm not going to say it in this room. And it's very interesting to stop and think and say, hey, why is the Messiah, the Mashiach, coming through all this adultery, infidelity? What's going on? Father marrying daughters, Yehuda and Tamar, he's not sure, he thought she was a prostitute, back and forth. And David is even not. The idea is that anybody could be the Mashiach. No matter how far, and it should come through there. Because the least expected is when we're going to appreciate it most. And David came through that whole infidelity process, that whole mistake, and Ruth has to come across from the selfish to the unselfish to the kindness to show that we are fixing our mistake. And another reason, by the way, I should point this out on the side before we go back to our main point. But one of the other reasons why we read Ruth is, everybody said, 1 second, the Torah says you cannot allow Moabite women marrying to the Jewish people. And the Torah, Shabbat Peh, the way the rabbis learned the Torah, which is the Torah on the mouth, and that we show that even also came from our Sinai, and our entire Mashiach, entire Messianic dynasty comes from that, from the fact that the rabbis learned Moavi v'lo Ma'avis, Torah Shabbal Peh, that it's somebody who only a male cannot marry in, but a woman could. So it all comes out through Torah Shabbal Peh. Okay. So we have to understand this whole story of Ruth is the connection between the infidelity and fidelity. Is the connection between righting wrongs and not wronging rights. But Ruth is there to teach us a lesson that we have it pretty good ourselves. I see in you the emes. Selfishness is not the way to go. Chesed is the way to go. Not only that, she was the one, the grandmother of the Mashiach, of David HaMelech, King David. Through her righteousness, through her persistence, she said, I'm not going to leave you. I'll give you the other. Do not try to persuade me. I'm staying. I'm in. Shavuos, we have to not only accept the Torah and realize what we're accepting, we also have to be persistent about it and say, I don't care. The world offers me so many other things. The world offers me so many other things. The world offers me money and honor and power and desires that facilitate my desires. We've got to be persistent. We have to look. We have to say, no, we're going to stand strong. So I just want to end off with a little bit from Rabbi Waxman, a little bit about Shavuos and Ruth. On Shavuos, we remember Ruth, the mother of Malchus, and all those who came to us from so far, because they remind us to understand just fortunate we are. We are the nation that heard from Hashem in His own words. He said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. And we're the nation that cried with joy and with pride. Ki anu amecha. And on this day we came forever higher, through the thunder, the lightning, the fire. When you gave us the Torah, every word so pure and true. Ananashis kisavis yavis, you put in your atzmius. So whenever we learn, we're holding on to you. It's now more than 3,000 years, so much blood, so many tears. We've carried this Torah with love, faith, and trust. Through its wisdom it was always known that we're never alone. When we learn, we hear Him saying to us, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. I'm holding you tightly, Al Tira Abdi Yaakov. Ich hab zu gesagt, azoi, ki lo yitosh Hashem amai, v'nachal asoi lo yazov. In pain and in joy, the same Anochi Asinai, Anochi Ered Imcha, Anochi Alcha Gam Alai. So He'll bring us back home to Him, because v'korev hayomim asher ben yishaychoi. We are Hashem's children, we were chosen by Him. Hayata v'chartanu mikol ha'amim, ki anu amecha v'yato Elokeinu. Together we sing Ashreinu, Ashreinu, Matov Chalkeinu, Ayumanoim Goyroleinu, Ki anu amecha v'yato Elokeinu. Together we sing Ashreinu. Shkoyach, Rabbi say.